What makes a person great? What makes the mind thrive? What makes the heart stir? It is what is vital to a person's future. Without it, nothing would be or could be accomplished, and progress would cease to exist. Teaching at its core houses a love for people and a hope for the future. It is built upon self-sacrifice for the betterment of others, and understanding that students are people first and students second. Teaching is working in the present so that others may live in a brighter future. If success is the end of a journey, then teaching is the means by which we get there. So we learn, not out of convenience or necessity, but because we know of the infinite possibilities that could come from it. We learn because of the teachers who go beyond what is expected in the ordinary classroom and connect discussion to topics greater than ourselves and this world.
Well, good morning, my esteemed colleagues and dear students. You know, as the year draws to a close, we would be remiss if we didn't just pause for a moment and to thank and to recognize certain teachers who are retiring from Briarwood. You know, the last couple of years, we have referred to this time as our Legacy Chapel. And you know, you might ask, why are we as students talking or focusing on legacy? Well, here's what I believe, that at some point in our lives, all of us are going to be asking these questions. Number one, how do I want my life to be remembered? And then two, what do I want my life to have been about as my service here on earth draws to a close? You see, in many ways, students, you're just in the starting blocks of life, you know, just coming out of the gate. But on the other hand, we have 5 distinguished faculty and staff members who likely have been asking themselves these questions. Number one, you know, did I make a difference? And then two, you know, what have I left behind to benefit the next generation? You see, as George Washington Carver once said, no individual has any right to come into this world and go out of it without leaving behind distinct and legitimate reasons for having passed through it. So as we focus on legacy today, what we can most certainly affirm is that these individuals that we're going to talk about here in a moment, they indeed have left their mark on students and faculty alike. So from your bedrooms or your living room, stand and give them a warm Briarwood welcome to a group of my colleagues, your teachers, who will be speaking on behalf of our legacy honorees. And they are Mrs. Jackie Vanderwood, Mrs. Liz McNutt, Mrs. Marguerite McFarland, Mr. Mike Sanders, and last but not least, Mr. John Carter.
I first met Jackie Vanderwood when our sons became best friends in kindergarten at Briarwood Christian School. John was spending the night for his first time ever at Jackie's house. Jackie made sure he felt secure, and her little mini-me daughter stayed up with John all night long telling him stories to make sure that he had a successful first overnighter. That's just the type of person that Jackie is, loving and kind. When Jackie and I were asked to become den mothers for the Cub Scouts together, I immediately said yes. Over the next 2 years, I learned just how patient Jackie could be while corralling a room full of energetic young boys. So when Jackie brought her special education, knowledge, and skills to Briarwood School, I knew lots of students would have the opportunity to be blessed by a caring and loving teacher who would be very kind as she gently guided them into personal responsibility, academically, spiritually, and even socially. Jackie has played a variety of roles for students over the years, and she has played them all well. As a teacher, mentor, and friend, Jackie has helped many, many students become the men and women that God has designed them to be. The partnerships that she has formed with the parents of the students, the personal relationships that she has made with the students themselves, have developed relationships that will last through eternity. Jackie has inspired me to be a better teacher as I've watched her mold hearts. What Jackie means to me as a friend goes far beyond our relationship where we had our children or other people's children involved. It's just between us. Because she has held me up during the worst of times in my life. She has been there and laughed with me during the best of times. She became a daughter to my mother and the sister that I never had. I love you, Jackie. I'm so glad this is not goodbye and that you will have plenty of time to spend with your grandchildren. Enjoy that time, but I will see you much, my friend.
I'm honored to say a few things about Mrs. McNutt, who has been a fellow colleague and has also become a very good friend. And I think it's most appropriate since it's National Teachers Week. Teaching was definitely more than a career for Liz. It was her calling. And if I were to describe her in 3 adjectives or in 3 phrases, I would say this: faithful to her calling, loving in her approach in teaching, and one who demonstrated integrity in the classroom and also with her colleagues and her parents. I think it fitting that Mrs. McNutt taught world history. She was teaching in Haiti when she met her husband, Clark McNutt. After they married, they served in Japan where she taught, and then from there they went to Mexico and helped start a school, and at some point she also taught in Uganda. In between some of these places, she also taught in the States. She taught in Fort Lauderdale in a Christian school, and also in Augusta, Georgia, a public school. So I think we can honestly say that she could teach world history. In case you've lost track, that is 7 different places that she taught. So certainly she has had a varied experience. Mrs. McNutt has certainly left her legacy at Briarwood. In the times that I have worked with her and have observed her, it has been clear to me that she was living out her calling, certainly as a godly woman, wife, mother, and teacher. And I know that she so much has enjoyed teaching God's story. The McNutts are planning to move to Chattanooga, Tennessee later this month to live closer to their daughter and son-in-law. They do not yet have plans for what they will do, but if they do what they have been doing, they will be serving in some capacity, as their history has shown. And I think it appropriate that we leave these verses for them, and it is from Galatians 6, 9, and 10. So let's not get tired of doing what is good. At just the right time, we will reap a harvest of blessing if we don't give up. Therefore, wherever we have the opportunity, we should do good to everyone, especially to those in the family of faith. Thank you, Mrs. McNutt and Mr. McNutt, for serving the family of faith at Briarwood Christian School.
Hi, Mrs. McFarland. You know, I don't really remember much about the time we met, but it was at some conference somewhere. And I do remember that we rode together, just you and me. I'm not sure how that happened. But what I remember most of all is that we talked the whole way. But where I really began to know you was when you came to the high school and we began praying with a small group of teachers and administrators each morning. That was at least 20 years ago, and we haven't stopped praying since. Some of the faces have changed in our little group, and the size of our group has varied over the years, but we've been praying a long time for our school, our administrators, our faculty, and our students. We've prayed for our Briarwood families and for our own families through some really tough personal circumstances. The Lord has been faithful to keep drawing us together to pray. And yes, it's all because of His faithfulness to us. Now with the pandemic, I look forward to your email each morning that says that you've been praying for us, and not only that, how you've been praying. I also know that you used to pray with your mother before you got to school every morning, and that now you pray with your daughter before you start your workday. You are a prayer warrior in the truest sense. I've seen you really storm the gates of heaven on many prayer requests. And haven't we seen some beautifully answered prayers? Many times having to wait for God's timing, of course. When speaking recently to our awesome class of 2020, I talked a little bit about labels. I just called you a prayer warrior. In addition, over the years, you've been a teacher, a principal, a RenWeb magician, a standardized test coordinator, a devoted daughter, a faithful wife, a loving mom and grandmother, with a new grandchild arriving very soon, a dear sister in Christ, and a woman whose laugh is unmistakable. But you couldn't have served any of those roles well, apart from being a child of God. It really is the most important thing, isn't it? It's the only way possible to be able to walk in truth. You are one who knows the person in whom you put your faith and trust, and you're a picture of God's faithfulness to his people. I'm so happy for you that you'll now retire and be able to spend time with your family and with the newest grandchild. I know you won't be idle because that's just really not you. We will miss you in every way you have served this school over so many years, and I hope you won't stop praying for us. We're counting on it, and we'll be praying for you, dear sister. Happy retirement. Enjoy. May God richly bless this next season of your life. We're really going to miss you, friend.
There is no way in 2 minutes I can capture the life and career of Mike Sanders and what he's meant to Briarwood Christian School. I can tell you this, he was a big part in our winning state championships in football. When Mike first joined us, he had been a very successful offensive coordinator for Hewitt Trussville High School. He was a quarterback coach for Jay Barker, and we know what his career was like. Mike came to us and he immediately had an impact in teaching us how to run the football, the old Jack Wood style. And he put in a play that we ended up calling two choice. Short yardage, goal line play, when the defense knows all you need is a yard. It'd been very successful for Hewitt, and Mike put it in the Briarwood offense. Well, in 1998, we're in the second overtime versus Aliceville, 3rd down and 1 to go to the state championship, and we called two choice, a play that we had all come to believe in. And of course, Jeff Flannery scores, we celebrated, and very few people in the stands knew that night that Mike Sanders' contribution to Briarwood helped put us in our first state championship game. Mike has been a friend. He is an outstanding administrator, has great wisdom. He also had the humility to take on a junior high school and run it with great class and style and dignity, worked with that faculty. I can't think of anything more important than working with young men and young women in 7th and 8th grade during that precious time of life. And Mike had that firmness that you need as a principal, but he also had the fairness and the grace and compassion to deal with families. So we're losing a lot with Mike. His stars and crowns of what he's done for Briarwood Christian School will be a lasting legacy for us. And I'm so excited to see how God's going to use him in this next step of life.
I've been asked to say a few words about my friend John Carter. Obviously a great teacher. I've really kind of admired him from a distance, appreciated just the opportunities I've been able to see him work and share and love the students. He's genuinely concerned about the students. He's concerned about getting engaged with them. You know, you can see that in his love for his GAP group, in his love for the Japanese club, also in his time that he spends just even participating in chess club. He just loves to engage students in different ways here. Also, I realize that he really practices what he teaches. He's a great resource. He's a department chairman. He's a great resource to the other English teachers. I've also known John as a dear friend. And what I've appreciated about him the most is that he's a great listener. that I can ask him questions, get his feedback, get his honest opinion about things. You know, those kinds of friends are rare. You know, in Ecclesiastes, it says that two are better than one, and there's a good return for their time together. And I've experienced that with John. Also realized that John has sharpened me as a person. He's made me a better teacher, helped me listen to other people and advise them properly. He's just again been a great friend to me. Now perhaps you're wondering why he's leaving this job at Briarwood. I've been able to be a part of conversations with John in terms of just where he's going. One of the things that I remember was talking to him about his wife, Betty. And Betty's finishing up her counseling training at UAB. And one of the things we talked about was what was her next step. And John told me that Betty was really interested in working with people in the urban city environment, and that she really had a heart and a passion to be involved with those people. I didn't put two and two together at that time, but I realized that in a lot of ways that John and Betty do mutual ministry. They have mutual concerns. And so at that point I realized that John had a heart for the inner city. You know that this year our theme verse has been Micah 6:8. And this is what I think John really kind of is an attribute of him. He's obedient. He loves his Lord. He's willing to serve him. And part of this service here is that he's chosen to serve him at Restoration Academy in the inner city. So John, I will certainly miss you. I love you, appreciate you so much. You've done a great job at Briarwood, and I know that you will do a great job working with the students there at Restoration Academy. Let me just say a few more words here. Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "Many people will walk in and out of your life, but only true friends will leave footprints in your heart." And that's what John Carter has done for me. John, best wishes. I know that we will get together and spend time kind of conversing about how things are going with you, and I look forward to those moments in the future. God bless you.
Hey, I beat you to the beat. Woo! I know you can't wait to get here, but boy, it's been good. Been here for 2 weeks, and I know that you can't wait to get to your tropical island resort getaway and grab your snorkel and your chair and sit down and have some good reading time. Tell you what, we actually got some great beach reading for you, because we got a going away present for you. It's a leather bound with your name embossed on it. It's a ESV study Bible. You can take that with you to the beach. And Mike, now we don't want, Mr. Sanders, we don't want you to be getting any of those raw oyster stuff all over it. But for the rest of you, enjoy it. Here's what I do want you to know, though. Know that you're loved. Know that you're going to be missed. And but we do hope that you have a wonderful time basking in the tropics or wherever the Lord's going to take you. We love you all. Take care.